Has your business been affected by COVID-19? The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is available to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The VI SBDC is sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration and collaborates with local agencies to support the small business community. The VI SBDC is nationally accredited and provides free consulting, business education training, and technical assistance. Attend workshops with subject matter experts from both the public and private sector. From idea generation to exit strategies, the staff at the VI SBDC is ready to assist you. Now is the time to contact them, so don't wait. Call or email them to find out how they can help your business grow and succeed.
Good morning and welcome to Webinar Tuesday. My name is Mary Jo Williams. I'm the Network Training Coordinator for the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, and I will be your facilitator and moderator for today's session. Today's session is COVID-19 program updates, and our presenter for today is Mr. Wayne Huddleston. Today's session is being recorded and it is live on Facebook, and a copy of the recording will be loaded to our YouTube page at VISBDC later in the week. And thank you for joining us. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end of Wayne's presentation. And with that, Mr. Wayne Huddleston, the floor is yours.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you to SBDC for hosting these weekly SBA updates on programs that we have. This week, as Mary Jo said, we are going to cover just the latest COVID-19 programs and where the status is on each of those. But I would want to reserve the bulk of the time today to answer any questions you have. What I'm going to do for this one, instead of a PowerPoint, I'm going to walk you through the website because that is the most effective way to get all the information on our current programs, on some of them, and how to apply for some of them. So I'm going to take you through an overview of what those are and then open up to questions that you may have on any of them. So let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, Mary Jo, I have, it says disabled participant screen sharing.
Sorry about that. And before you get started, I was so excited to get back to work after the holiday. Can you give them a brief introduction of yourself, please?
Sure, yeah. While you do that, my name is Wayne Huddleston. I'm the Senior Area Manager for SBA here in the territory. I've been in the I live on St. Croix, and I've been here a little over 6 years. So here full time as SBA's person for the Virgin Islands. All right, looks like it's working now. Okay, so everyone should see my screen right now, which is just the beginning web page for SBA.gov. So when you go to SBA.gov, still the most important, we have a ton of programs and they're all very important, but we're very focused on COVID-19 relief. We know we're not through this completely yet, and there's still a lot of negative impacts for many business owners, especially here in a territory with tourism being significantly impacted. So we have a number of programs that we put right on our front page. As soon as you head to SBA.gov, all you have to do is click this link that says learn more, and you'll be taken to those programs. And it's very well laid out as to what Congress has currently authorized us to provide. I'm going to cover a few of these in detail. Some I'm just going to quickly cover because they are either currently not authorized or ending. And then I'm going to open up to questions that you may have afterwards. But I'm going to focus the bulk of my time talking about the Paycheck Protection Program and COVID EIDL. So if you're interested in learning more about the Paycheck Protection Program, you would learn here. Now, this program was specifically authorized by Congress shortly after the pandemic began, specifically to allow businesses to keep individuals on the payroll, even though revenues may have gone down significantly, rather than having mass layoffs We hope that this would help business owners keep some people on the payroll, at least temporarily, to help them stay employed and continue operations. There were two approvals of this program. One was for a first draw loan, which was authorized very early on, I want to say in March of 2020. That program ended August 8th. And so we had approximately 2,000 businesses within the Virgin Islands that took advantage of that program. And that authorized 2 months of payroll for each of their employees in the form of a loan that was provided by a local lender. That lender would provide that loan to you. You would then use it to fund your employees' payroll, with some exceptions allowed for a portion of that to be used for other expenses such as rent or purchasing COVID equipment or preventative equipment that would help, such as face masks, other things like that to deal with COVID. But the bulk was intended for payroll. Again, that started in March. The program ended in August 8th. And then from August 8th through December, that program did not exist. It was reauthorized again by Congress at the beginning of this year, and then it ended May 31st of 2021. An important aspect of these programs, and I'll talk about it here, is the forgiveness portion of that. So all PPP loans are forgivable as long as the borrower can demonstrate that it used it for the purpose in which it was intended. If you received a PPP loan, and you're a business owner who received that here in the territory, you received it from most likely a local bank. There are some who received it from outside bank, but all your interaction is done through your lender. They not only provide you the loan, but they also process your loan forgiveness. If you do not go through the process of loan forgiveness with your lender, then that PPP loan stays a loan and it is due back to your lender. And you will have to start payments on that loan after your covered period ends. But if you receive the PPP loan, you should be following the forgiveness terms. They should be provided by your lender. But if you have some question, or if you have not received communication from your lender on this, please go to SBA.gov, go to PPP and click on this forgiveness so you can read a little bit more about it and understand. You'll understand the documents that need to be provided. We talk about how and when to apply for forgiveness. We also have on here something called direct forgiveness. Now, to participate in direct forgiveness, this is an opportunity for lenders to sign up in a process where we help manage their administrative forgiveness process. It is not cutting the lender out completely. In fact, if you are a borrower with a lender, it requires your lender to sign up with us for direct forgiveness to participate in that process. So if your lender did not sign up for direct forgiveness with us at SBA, then you cannot submit your documents to SBA to begin that forgiveness process. The major lenders here in the territory have not signed up for direct forgiveness. However, that does not mean that you can't give forgiveness. In fact, many of the lenders are processing these forgiveness applications very quickly and very well. In fact, for that first round of forgiveness, I believe Merchants Bank has done nearly 100% of all their forgiveness applications already decisioned. I think they have a few in queue, but they've done a great job. And I know Popular, First Bank, and Bank of St. Croix and Oriental Bank are all processing those forgiveness apps. They have hundreds and hundreds that have already been forgiven. So just because they haven't signed up through the direct forgiveness portal does not mean that the process is going to be slower for you. In fact, in many cases, it could be faster because they already have an internal process that's working very smoothly. So work with them to do that. At this point, we don't have any direct forgiveness lenders signed up for direct forgiveness. But if you have concerns, of course, read this site. Make sure you read through this first before you call me. But if you have concerns with your lender not being able to process your forgiveness application or not taking your forgiveness application, please feel free to contact me. I will provide my information at the end of this. There should be no reason that they aren't. They should be giving you all the information needed. So really only contact me if they are not accepting your information or they are not processing your forgiveness application. You do not contact me if your forgiveness application was denied in part or in whole for some reason. There's a process for going through that. And you can read more about that on here. So essentially it just outlines that you submit the forgiveness forms, and in the vast majority of cases, you're submitting those directly through your lender. You monitor your forgiveness process with your lender. If you have questions about it, the vast majority of them can be answered here in the FAQ section about PP loan forgiveness, and you go through there. So if you received a loan in that first round that I mentioned from between March of 2020 through August 8th of 2020, your forgiveness application should already be in the process already. If you have not started that, you are severely behind the ball, because those payments will start to come due around mid-October at the latest. If you may recall, when you received your PPP funds, from the moment you received the PPP funds, a covered period started. And that covered period was anywhere from 8 to 24 weeks. So using the longest period that it could be of 24 weeks, and then you add 10 months to that. So if you got your PPP loan sometime in August at the very end of that first round, and then you had the maximum covered period of 24 weeks, and then you had the 10 months added on to that before as your window to apply for forgiveness, that window is closing around mid-October. So if you have not started that process, you should start it now. You should be reaching out to your lender. You should have something in queue already. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into a loan, and that money is going to turn into something that you're going to have to pay back to your lender. That information is here. Again, I've put it all on the site here, but if you have questions, we're going to have time at the end of this to answer those regarding PPP forgiveness. But that's where you go through. I'm going to back out on this. You can also get more data. So we do post, just for your awareness, data on PPP and a link to get help with your PPP loan. You can speak with a counselor, you can check your loan status, all sorts of things. But really for this, you should be contacting your lender and going through it. It's far easier to work with your lender on this. So that's information on forgiveness. Again, that is really applying to first draw PPP loans now, but you can certainly be applying for your second draw forgiveness as well. There are multiple businesses here in the territory that have received their forgiveness on their first loan and have already received their forgiveness on their second draw loan. It just depends on their timing and how well they were going through the process of their forgiveness. But you can get a lot of information here on the site for that. Again, that program has ended. I do not anticipate that it will be renewed at any point. Congress is not talking about it at this point, but it's possible, it may. But right now, it's not. And if there are going to be updates to that, we will post it on our site and, of course, spread that word widely. The next one that I'd like to talk about for a while now is the COVID-19 EIDL loan. EIDL loans are loans that we provide after disasters. After disaster declarations, many of you may remember we had EIDL loans available after Hurricanes Irma and Maria and other hurricanes before that. But during COVID-19, the entire country was designated disaster area for the COVID-19 purpose, and economic injury disaster loans were approved. This program has not expired. It is still eligible for applications. If you have not applied for a COVID-19 EIDL loan and you're a business owner and you would like to, you can learn more about it here. Visit our site, click on Learn More. These are specifically for businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. These are not loans for expanding your business or buying a new business or buying new equipment or doing things like that. These are specifically to address the negative impacts of COVID-19 on your business. Additionally, this is a loan and it is not expected that it will ever be forgiven. So while PPP is a forgivable loan, it operates sort of like a grant. It's not technically a grant, it's a loan, but it will be forgiven if you use it in the right purposes. COVID-19 EIDL loans will not be forgiven. I do not anticipate that they ever will be. However, they are important and they can be key lifelines for businesses to get through a very difficult period. These loans are, a second, I need to reduce something here. Okay. These loans can go up to a max right now of $500,000. It is my understanding, however, so I'm going to give you the terms as of they are today. You may see information come out soon. It's my understanding that a new interim final rule has been passed and authorized by Congress that will go into effect tomorrow. Tomorrow, the expectation as the loan amount will increase to $2 million from $500,000. It was originally $150,000. It was then approved to $500,000, and then many business owners began to apply for their increases. It will now be increased to $2 million, which is the normal cap that economic injury disaster loans have. Now, it's my understanding when that increase is announced, we'll provide a lot more information on that. If this increase is for businesses that would be eligible for that higher amount, were it not for that cap in place. So, for instance, if you are a business that would have been authorized and would have been approved for a $800,000 loan, for instance, but you were only approved for $500,000 because that is the current cap authorized by law right now, then once that increase is approved and formally available, then you could apply for that increase. It is my understanding that although you could apply for that increase, the priority is still being given for businesses that are still having their applications approved and processed for less than $500,000 right now. So again, that increase will come. I expect it will be announced tomorrow officially. But for now, as of today, the loan amount maximum is $500,000. The interest rate is very good, 3.75% for businesses at a fixed rate, 2.75% for nonprofits at a fixed rate, and spread over 30 years. And there are no prepayment penalties or fees, and that's very important because I encourage business owners who may not wish to take on debt and are trying to get through the negative impacts of the pandemic without it. That is completely understandable. However, you can still apply for the loan, and if you received approval, you can have those funds directly put into your account. And so, say for instance, you were approved for $100,000, you don't necessarily want the debt, but you can have those funds put into accounts, and I suggest you make it a separate account, not commingle it with your other funds, but put that in a separate account and hold on to it. And if the COVID pandemic affect your business in a negative way between now and the next 8-10 months or 2 years, you'll have that reserve sitting there. And if you decide, I do not want that debt, and later on 6 months you believe, I think we're through this, I can thrive without this extra debt, you can just return those funds back to SBA. There is no penalty. The only amount that you would be obligated to pay is the amount of interest that it accrued during the time that you held those funds. And for many business owners, that is well worth the price to have those funds sitting there. And then you can pay that back as you wish. But if you need it, then it's there, you use it, and then you can spread it out over time. And if you don't need all of it, you can send whatever amount you want back early, and you can spread the payments out over 30 years. It's really a really great opportunity to get some funds at a time that's really needed. It can be used for a lot of things: working capital, normal operating expenses. Its allowable use of funds goes beyond what can be used for the Paycheck Protection Program, because you can use it to pay payroll with EIDL, but you can use it for many other things as well. It is my understanding that the use of proceeds will be slightly expanded, not significantly, but will be slightly expanded with the September 8th new interim final rule that's going to be coming out pretty soon. But by and large, it's still to continue your normal operating expenses. It will not be used, or will not be authorized for it to be used for buying new equipment, purchasing new buildings, expanding your business, those types of things. Again, it is specifically for getting through the negative effects of the pandemic. There are some collateral requirements if you're going over $25,000. As I mentioned before, it is not going to be forgivable. It's a 30-year loan. Those terms will remain the same. I do not expect interest rates will be any different. But you can get a lot more information here on that. Eligibility applies to U.S. businesses that are small. There will be some minor adjustments, I understand, to the loan eligibility, which I can't go into now because it's not authorized yet. But it will be coming out soon with that. But by and large, these are for U.S. businesses that are legitimate businesses that have tax records, those types of things. You are eligible to apply for this all the way up to December 31st of 2021. So you've got about 3.5 months left to apply for this. You can only apply for one. So if you've already received an economic injury disaster loan, you are not eligible to receive a second economic injury disaster loan under this declaration. If you were eligible for a higher amount, and the only reason you didn't get that higher amount because the cap that was in place, you could apply for an increase. But you cannot apply for a second loan. You can only apply for one for business. Again, you do not apply for this one through a lender. You apply for this directly through SBA. As soon as you click on it, you'll notice right here, it says in red, apply here. You can click that link, or you can scroll through, read more information, and then click down here. I'm going to click on it to show you what it takes you to. It's a very short application process. It takes approximately, depending on the size of your business, it could take 15 minutes. So for many sole proprietorships that are very small, requesting a small amount of money to get through, you can submit this application very quickly. Again, about 20 minutes. Most of it's multiple choice. You got to put in information about your business and information about whether you're eligible. You have to go through this process here and then hit continue, but it goes really quick. And again, all your interaction will be done here with SBA. I want to talk briefly about some other parts of the COVID-19. There are what we call advanced programs. So if you are applying for the business or for the economic injury disaster loan, you do have an opportunity to receive an advance on that of up to $10,000. You would need to, in the application process, select that you would like to receive that advance, and then apply or provide your banking information. We've issued many advances on those here in the territory. Those are typically provided to just get you an advance on those funds, knowing that you may need those pretty quickly, and it may take some time for the full approval process to work its way through the process here with us. And it looks like it may be up to $15,000. That was a recent change. Sorry, I didn't mention that. But you may receive up to $15,000 depending on where you are. So normally you can receive a $10,000 advance, but there is an additional increase of $5,000 that may apply depending on depending on your eligibility. So there is a map here you can check on whether your business is a low income area. I'm going to click on this and hopefully it'll work well without causing my computer to freeze here. But this map shows whether your business is in a low income area. So there are parts of the Virgin Islands that are considered low income, and there are parts that are not. So I am just going to scroll over if I can. I think what might be easier is I'll just put in a zip code. I'm going to put in St. Croix. So as I zoom in down here into the Virgin Islands, the dark purple areas are considered low income. So if your business is in the dark purple area, then it can be considered low income for the purpose of the additional $5,000 on the increase. So let me zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to look at, for some reason it's not allowing me to move. There we go. So I'm going to focus on St. Thomas here right now. So you can see there are these areas that are in dark purple. If your business is located in one of these census tract areas, then it will be considered eligible for that additional increase in the advance. If it's in the yellow areas, then it's not. These are not areas that we designate. These are designated by the US Census as low income areas, and those would be eligible. So if your business is in St. John, you would not be eligible for that additional $5,000 or in other parts of St. Thomas. Same with St. Croix down here. There are areas that are low income here in Christiansted and large areas close to Frederiksted that are eligible for that increase, for that supplemental target advance is what they're calling it. But if your business is located out here, then it would not be eligible. So, but that is available on our site. Just click on it and you can get more information. And again, if you want, similar to PPP, we post a lot of information on our site on the data. You can see how much targeted advance and how much economic injury disaster loan funds have been awarded to businesses within the Virgin Islands. And it's all available here if you just collect the EIDL data. And I will tell you that with the Virgin Islands, with regards to the economic injury disaster loan, there have been more businesses that have been approved for economic injury disaster loans here in the Virgin Islands on a per capita and per business basis than any other place in the country. We've had, it's a little over 1,800, it's getting close to 1,900 economic injury disaster loans that have been approved in our territory. And that's a significant amount. That's a lot of businesses here that have received those funds. And those funds go up to 150,000 or 500,000 right now, and will soon be allowed to go up to 2 million. There's a lot of people taking advantage of that, and I'm glad to see it. So I'm going to talk about some other programs. These are going to talk about just very briefly because there are very few that could take advantage here in the Virgin Islands, and some are already shut down. So the first is the shuttered venue operate, or actually both of these, the ones I'm going to talk about, have been closed at the time, but I'm just going to talk about them briefly. So the first is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. This was a grant that Congress authorized SBA to provide to theater owners, community theaters, agents of those. There's a full list down here that shows who can apply. Theater producers, live venue operators, museum operators, talent representatives, and so forth. This was a grant that we provided through our site. We did have a couple of businesses apply and be approved for this here in the territory. I believe this provided a little over $150,000 worth of free funds to help those entities get through this period. As you can imagine, people who operate venues where large numbers of people congregate and they depend on that for their revenue were severely impacted by COVID-19. So Congress developed this program, authorized it, asked SBA to provide it. Again, we don't have many of those entities here in the territory that would be authorized to apply, but several were authorized and we approved those for those as well. And then this other one I'd like to talk about is the Restaurant Revitalization Program. Again, this is a business industry that was severely impacted, especially early on in the days of the pandemic, where businesses in the food service industry were required simply just to shut down and could not receive any revenue. So Congress authorized what they call the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which also operates similar to a grant. It doesn't come through your lenders. And again, it comes directly through SBA. This program had a very short window. It was very popular and it was authorized to the entire country at the same time. The Virgin Islands businesses were not kept from this program, but at the same time, they were also not provided a special exception where a special bucket of money was reserved for the Virgin Islands. It was one huge bucket of money for the entire country, and restaurants from all across the country just poured into the program for their applications. Unfortunately, Congress did not provide enough funds to help all those who applied. So they allowed, it was a little over 20, I think it was $28 billion in the program within just the first week of the program being opened, and the applications greatly exceeded the amount of funds that were available for the program. We still did have a good number of businesses in the territory that were approved for this. However, we had far more that were in the application process that did not get approved. Essentially, if a restaurant did not get its application in and fully complete all the way within the first 24 to 48 hours of this program being approved, they were likely stuck in a queue waiting for approval. And then funds ran out very quickly. As I mentioned, within the first 24, 48 hours, applicants far exceeded the amount of revenue that Congress appropriated. So while we got through the ones that were in the queue within the first 24, 48 hours, after that, the funds ran out, and there are many business owners that are waiting approval. Right now, we do not have any more information on this. So Congress has not authorized us to provide any more restaurant revitalization funds. So if you are a restaurant owner who did not receive an approval but did submit your application, it's waiting there. We are just waiting for the go-ahead from Congress. If Congress says we will authorize more funds, we will immediately begin sending those funds out to the applicants that had submitted and were approved. And then other applicants ideally would be eligible to apply. But right now, this program is closed. You can get a lot more details about it here. Certainly, if Congress is going to approve more funds, we will be highlighting this. And all this information on this page is up to date. You can read more about the program guide, the application, how it works. You can get information on how to apply, where to apply, all sorts of things here, who's eligible. It's all here on our website. But again, this program is currently closed. It's not accepting applications. If you did submit your application and it's in the queue, it's just sitting there. There are not going to be any updates to the portal. Nothing is going to happen with this program until Congress approves it. There have been several attempts in Congress. There have been bills proposed by elected officials to reauthorize this program and provide more funds to it, but nothing is getting through right now. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. So we're just waiting until that program gets reauthorized. So I'm going to go back. So these other programs here, just real quickly, SBA debt relief is a debt relief period that we provided to business owners who have a 7A or an existing 7A or 504 loan before the pandemic. We provided payments on those loans on those businesses' behalf. You did not need to do anything. Business owners who had those loans, their lenders were contacted and notified about that program, and we made those payments on those loans on their behalf directly to those lenders. I have not heard of any recipient of a 7A or 504 loan in the past here in the Virgin Islands who did not already receive their debt relief payment. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but it was a program that was authorized under COVID-19. And then this provides a little bit more information on cross-program eligibility. As you can imagine, if you've received PPP and received EIDL, received Shuttered Venue Grant or Restaurant Revitalization Fund, there are some cross-program eligibility issues that you should be aware of. And you can read through them here. It's very simple. So if you received Restaurant Revitalization Fund, you can also do EIDL as well. You cannot apply for restaurant more than once and all sorts of things. So, but if you were a Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, you cannot apply for more than one. So anyway, a lot of information on there. That is a quick overview. I've been speaking for about a half hour now, but I want to give you just a quick overview of the programs that Congress authorized SBA to administer with regard to COVID-19 relief. Again, Paycheck Protection Program, not accepting applications at this time, but forgiveness is what's happening right now. It is very important as a business owner that you are monitoring that process with your lender to receive forgiveness. Otherwise, this turns into a loan. COVID-19 still active, still receiving applications. However, you can only receive one. And this opportunity will close at the end of December unless Congress makes any changes. These other programs are closed. Specifically, Restaurant Revitalization Fund does impact a lot of businesses owners here. Currently closed, waiting on Congress to reauthorize funding for that. And we will certainly spread the word as soon as we can when we hear of any changes to that. So for the moment, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I can reshare it again if we need to, but what I'd like to do is just open this up to questions on any of the programs that I've been talking about. And I'm going to open up chat as well to look through that.
A quick question. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Mary Jo.
Quick question before we begin opening it up to the audience.
Sure.
How much can a business apply for in terms of an EIDL loan?
It can apply for up to the max amount. So, but the loan amount is, so an applicant does not request a certain amount. The applicant requests a loan. The amount is determined by formula based on their previous revenues that is determined on what they could be approved for. So they can request, I mean, any amount really up to the max, but the request does not, in the application process, there's not an opportunity for a person to say, I want this X dollar amount. You're just essentially requesting the approval of an economic injury disaster loan. And then SBA will approve, if the application is approved, it is automatically approved to the max that that business is eligible for. And then the owner of that business, if they decide to take it, can take up to that amount.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Go ahead. Yes.
I have I applied for an EIDL loan back way before it even was declared an emergency. I had applied, and they said that it's being processed. Well, it's been several months, and I haven't received anything on it. I did get something saying they needed some information on my taxes. I sent that information 4 times, and I never got nothing back. And so I just kept sending it, never received anything. And I just wonder if there's any way. I'm pretty sure I'm still in the running because I applied again, and they kicked that one out and said we're keeping the first one. So that told me they're at least, I guess they're still working on the first one. But how do I find out anything on that?
Well, you should be able to contact 1-800-659-2955. That is the Disaster Customer Service Center. They have your loan. They are able to pull up information on your loan. However, I will tell you, there is a little bit of a delay in getting these loans processed. As you can imagine, there are really millions of businesses that are applying all across the country on this. And so it's just to give you some perspective, when we did the PPP program, thousands and thousands of lenders were helping administer that program, but it was still very difficult to get all those through. Here, we don't have thousands of lenders. We're essentially operating as one lender at SBA, and we're managing millions of applicants, and we're also trying to make sure there is not fraud and many other things. So it does take a little bit of time, so I would ask a little bit of patience. Also, when you apply a second time for a loan, it does cause sometimes complications in the process. And then if they are asking for information, it does take some time to get that information. So if they're asking for tax returns and you submitted those yourself, those are typically not acceptable. So what they require is that your tax return transcript is provided by the taxing authority. So here in the Virgin Islands, that's going to be the Virgin Islands Bureau of Internal Revenue. What happens is you should have been asked to submit what we call a 4506T. That form is provided to the local Virgin Islands. You said you have not? I'm sorry.
I submitted it like 4 times.
Okay. So you should only need to be submitted once, and then it should go through the Virgin Islands, and then they have some time, and we can't really control their process, but they typically turn it around to us within a couple of weeks. I don't know how long ago it was when you first submitted that,
Yes.
But it
Well,
doesn't at the time, then it gets to
I'm
us.
from Mississippi.
Oh, okay. So it should have gone through the
I'm just,
IRS.
I just want to see y'all's thing today. I'm from Mississippi, but I
Okay.
figured y'all might give me some information. So I
So
really appreciate you helping me.
here's what I suggest. If you're in Mississippi and it is taking way too long, and when I say too long, I say not just a week or two, but like months. It's been taking months since you submitted
Yeah.
that.
Terrible.
Yeah, there are some of those that have issues. So I would do two things. One, I would use that 1-800 number, 1-800-659-2955. And then I would also contact your local district office in Mississippi. So if you look online, there's a Mississippi district office and they should have a contact email there. Give them as much information about your loan. Give them your loan application number. Tell them, give them a timeline of when you've submitted documents and how long this is taking. They should be able to help try to follow up and see what's going on with your process.
Yeah. Appreciate it. I've got the number and also, I mean, I should be able to find something out.
Yeah, hopefully.
Appreciate it.
But they should be able to help their Mississippi for you. No problem. And let's see. Of course, if you have a question, feel free to just pipe up and ask. I'm going to read one right now that's in chat. The first one is from Brett Swain. It says, I can't seem to find a banker to loan me money for the PPP, and the SBA said I was qualified for both the first and second loan. Can you tell me, lender, I have 5 employees, including me, and a banker is dragging his feet, and I've been paying my employees out of pocket. I need help. I would be glad to open up there if you need me to. I have the Powerball that runs your house manager. So unfortunately, if you have not already applied for PPP and been approved, there is no option to receive PPP now. That program is closed. And there's no opportunity to receive funds for that program now. If it opens up again, then there are many lenders. I encourage most people to use your current lender, but then if you are having troubles there are many other lenders that are options for PPP loans. But right now, unfortunately, if you did not apply for the approval, not eligible for it. And I think that was just continuing.
Yeah, I got approved and everything, and my bank just wouldn't do it. They drug their feet.
You'd have to take that up with your lender, unfortunately. I don't know. Or you could also talk to,
I appreciate it.
This is still in Mississippi. I would talk to our district office in Mississippi. They may be able to follow up and help.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for someone else to put their question in the chat, I want to let folks know that next week, Tuesday, our webinar will change back to 10 a.m. just for next week, Tuesday. Okay, and this is going to be news for Wayne right now, but we're going to do the SBA resources for starting, growing, and maintaining your business at 10 o'clock. Okay, and then the following week, which is the 21st of September, we will not have a webinar Tuesday with SBA, and then we'll be back on the 28th. And we'll send out that information. We'll post it on Facebook, and it will also be on our website. We'll send you out notifications of the registration. And actually, if you register for today's webinar, it'll be the same link that you will use for next week's webinar. Okay. There's a question in the chat. Help small target merchants advance because they take so long. Ms. Gonzalez Cruz, could you open your mic and ask your question, please? I don't understand quite what she's asking. It looks like something in reference to the targeted advance.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So if you can provide some clarity, let us know how we can help with that. But I'm not sure what you're asking in that question right now.
And this is Greg. May I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
Good morning. And thank you for coming on today, Wayne. The subject of my question is the targeted advanced programs, specifically the mapping tool. On the SBA website, it states that once an EIDL is applied for, if that applicant's business is in the low income area, whether they receive the EIDL or not, that they would receive an invite if the business is in a low income community. Here's my question. We have clients who have received that invite. They have met the other two requirements for the targeted advance, the 30% and the number of employees, but they were declined, and a decline letter, or correction, a decision letter came back stating that they did not make it due to the fact that the business was not in a low income area. So basically, when somebody gets an invite, their business should have already been reviewed to be in a low income community area, correct?
Yeah, you would think. I don't know how they're selecting those for the invite. I don't know, but you would think that they would filter by addresses that were submitted in the EIDL application. And it may be the case that someone had different, maybe it was found that the business was not in a low income area when for some reason the original EIDL application indicated it was. I don't know. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any insight as to what triggers that invite.
I'm reading from the website. It says, once you apply for the loan, SBA will invite you via email to apply for one of the advanced programs if your business is located in a low income area. Mm-hmm. So you kind of almost assume that check mark is done. So it's just a matter then of, does the client make the 30% or the 50%? But we have in fact had them declined after they said they were in fact approved. One other question, sir. In the fine print for that EIDL loan, the loan part, it states that if you don't take your full amount, you have up to 2 years to request that difference. My question is, if the program ends in December, and I know it says you still have 2 years, but are those like factored in? So can somebody actually, theoretically, request a year down the road, a year and a half from today, and get that extra, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000?
Sure. Yeah. So once a loan applicant is approved, that December 31st deadline has absolutely no impact. The new deadline begins with the date that they received a loan. So in a the longest case scenario, let's say someone was approved December 30th of this year, then they have December 30th, almost right up until 2023. That's 2 years. It would be December 2023, so almost 2024. They could still receive an increase. So that 2-year window starts the moment that they receive the funds, regardless of when the application deadline was.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. We're looking pretty good on time. And let me see. Oh, there is a question. What would you recommend for someone like myself who started a business, which is a party store? I have been putting aside monies for several months and I already found a venue. I need additional monies. Which loan or agency should I look for to get me started?
So my suggestion is if you can avoid taking a loan as a startup, you want to do that. There is and I've noticed it here in the Virgin Islands more than anything, is that many people think one of the first options you do is seek a loan to start up or grow your business. And loans are really represent only a fraction of funds that people use, especially when they're doing a startup. If you've done a good job already of saving, that's fantastic. If there are other friends or partners or others you can help bring in, or other people to help invest in your business, that would be ideal. The first suggestion I would do, especially as a startup, is to, if you haven't already, make an appointment at the SBDC, sit down with one of the advisors, come in with all your information, or better yet, if you could schedule a meeting before that meeting, send your business plan, send information about your business to the counselor so that they can have time to review it ahead of time. But sit down and have that dialogue and help them understand where you are with your business, what financial resources you have, what do you need, and specifically outline that. And that business counselor should be able to help you, direct you in the right decision. If that is a loan and it makes sense to apply for a loan, they are well connected with all the local lenders. Certainly recommend you start with a lender with which you already have a relationship. But unfortunately, there are not programs out there, certainly at least at the federal level, that provide funds to people to start a business, grant funds anyway, to start a business. And none of the COVID programs I talked about today are intended to help start a business. But there are opportunities out there. Many lenders don't like to lend to startups because they have no history of financial performance to show that they can pay back the terms of the loan, but that's not impossible. But the first thing I would recommend is schedule that appointment with someone at the SBDC, and they should be able to help you get you in the right direction. You'll be able to have an in-depth conversation with them one-on-one about what the best steps forward are.
Great answer to a great question. Thank you. Ms. Gonzalez Cruz, would you like to elaborate on your question from earlier? Your mic is open. Okay, well, maybe not. All righty, so we want to thank Wayne for his presentation for today, and we want to thank all of you for joining us on behalf of our State Director, Mr. Ted Gutierrez, and our staff on St. Croix, as well as our staff on St. Thomas and the SBA. Thank you all for joining us. Next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m., SBA resources to start, grow, and to maintain your business. And Mr. Wayne Huddleston will be our presenter. And we will, and on Thursday, we have a webinar with the Economic Development Authority, and that's going to be on the Eligible Supplier Program. So if you're looking to do business with some of the businesses that have received Economic Commission benefits, Thursday at 12 noon, we will be right here to do that webinar. And we look forward to seeing you then. So between now and Thursday, if you have no other questions, we'll say thank you for joining us and we'll see you later.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.